Dear viewers and followers, welcome to a new lesson from the training lessons for the Ameen Accounting and Warehouses System. Today in this video, we will talk about how to activate the Saudi tax system. Before starting the activation procedures, you must know that after activating the Saudi tax system, this activation cannot be reversed. The solution to undo this activation is to restore a backup copy. Therefore, as part of the activation procedures, the program will request a backup. I will dedicate a folder for backup. For example, I created a new folder named Backups, and I will copy the path of this folder. I will make backup settings before starting the activation process. By going to the Tools menu, then Options. Then go to the Backup tab. Paste the previously copied path in the first and second options. Of course, you must pay attention to the case of where the database is located. In my case, it is located on the same computer. If the database is on another computer or server, the file must be created on that server and shared on the network, and the path to this folder must be chosen. After saving the settings, you can start the activation process by going to the Tools menu and then Tax System. Then choose to activate the tax system. We will notice the activation window appearing, through which the available countries will appear. If this option or country does not appear, you must contact the authorized agent. After selecting the country, you must select the tax subscription date by writing the date or using a calendar. After selecting the country and subscription date, you must click the OK button. A message will appear explaining that upon activation, there will be radical changes in bills and other things. When you click the OK button, a message will appear asking you to make a backup copy. It is a mandatory option during activation. After making the backup, the tax system will be activated and the system settings steps will appear, which starts by defining the default customer account for sales invoices and the default supplier account for purchase invoices. Of course, the customer or supplier can be changed while adding invoices. After selecting the default client and default supplier, click the OK button. Then the mandatory settings for the VAT system will appear. First, default accounts. Here you must specify the net VAT and net excise tax with the tax accounts and tax refund, and the reverse charge account and their counterparties. These accounts must be added to the chart of accounts, which can be added in batch by clicking on the Generate Accounts button, where it will ask us to specify the main account for these accounts. After I add this account, I will go back to the VAT settings again by clicking on the Tools menu, then Tax System, Tax Settings. I will choose this main account after pressing the Generate Accounts button. After clicking the OK button, we will notice that the system has created and specified the required accounts. The second step is to fill in the company information. The most important of which are the registration date, the entry registration date, and the company identifier type. Then we will click on the Tax Types tab. Through it, we will determine the taxes used and the tax registration numbers. We will also notice that the value-added tax is used by default. The excise tax status may also change depending on the nature of the company and its tax registration. We will also notice that the system has created the codes approved by the Zakat Authority. Tax periods must be selected from the Tax Periods tab. It is sufficient to specify the start date of the first tax period, its end date, and the type of tax period, then click on the button to generate tax periods. We will notice that the system has created the tax periods according to the company's fiscal year. Default values can also be specified. For example, the default status of the tax code can be determined, whether it is taxable or not. Also, the default tax location for customers and suppliers. You can also specify the available tax rates from the Tax Rates tab. Then you must click on the Apply button and then OK to save the settings. After activation, we will notice that a new tab has been added to the item card, which is the Taxes tab, through which the tax coding for each item must be determined. All previously added items must also be modified. But you will notice that all items that were previously used in invoices cannot be modified from the item card. To modify these items or groups, you can go to the Tools menu, then Tax System, then click on Modify Material Taxes, where you can specify a material or group or all material and the tax code. By clicking on the OK button, you will be asked to create a backup. We will then notice that the tax coding of the specified items has been modified according to the tax coding that was chosen. One of the most important changes after activating the tax system is that a new tab has been added to the customer supplier card, which is the Taxes tab. First, the location of the customer or supplier must be determined. When you select the location of Saudi Arabia, you will notice that there are two types of tax coding, either the standard rated or members of the tax group. You can also write the tax registration number of the customer or supplier if available. When specifying a location, local non-registered, you will find two types of tax coding. The first is private healthcare, private education sales to citizens, and the second is not assignment. And when choosing the location, outside GCC, you will also find two options for tax coding. First is zero rated, and the second is exports. All customers and suppliers must be modified according to each customer or supplier and their location. You will also notice that tax information for any customer or supplier that was previously used in invoices cannot be modified. To modify, you must go to the Tools menu, then Tax System, then Modify Customers' Taxes, where you can specify a main account for customers or suppliers or a specific customer or supplier account for modification. Then determine the location and appropriate tax coding. I will modify all clients as if they are inside the kingdom and taxable coding. I will also modify all suppliers with a 0 rated. Of course, the system will ask for a backup copy before any modification. These are all the procedures required to activate the tax system. After we have completed the procedures for activating the tax system and modified the items, customers, and suppliers, I will go to add a new invoice. Note the presence of the default client that was selected during the activation process, which can of course be changed. We will also notice that after registering the items, quantities, and prices, the value-added tax will be calculated automatically according to the tax percentage. It should also be noted that some additional fields can be added to invoice form for value-added tax. As we explained previously in one of the previous videos, you can go to the Form Management from the Tools menu, then Management, then Form Management. In the Purchase Invoice form, the Tax Rate field, Tax Value field, and Customs Assessment field can be activated. You can also click on the GCC Taxes button. This is to activate the Reverse Charge option and specify the Reverse Charge accounts and the Reverse Charge Contra account. You can also activate the Excise Tax option and determine its accounts, if this tax exists, of course. Also in the Sales Invoice form, the VAT percentage and VAT value fields can be activated. The price including tax field and other fields can also be activated. Of course, you can rearrange these fields using the arrows. After going to the sales invoice, we will notice the fields that have been added. We can now use the price field to add tax after it, or use the price including tax field to calculate tax from this price. It should also be noted that when record a purchase invoice and the invoice is imported, the reverse charge will be calculated. which can be changed according to the customs assessment by clicking on the More button. And activate the option, Import accounted through custom, then determine the customs valuation value. Note that the reverse charge value changes according to the customs assessment. Do not hesitate to contact the authorized agent in your area to activate the electronic invoice system approved by the Zakat Authority. Finally, I hope you like this video and share it with your friends to spread the benefit.